Well, it's a story on repeat. A mass shooting occurs, the left comes out fiercely clawing at our Second Amendment rights. And then we find out that these shooters were known offenders, forgiven by lenient prosecutors. Americans repeatedly punished for the worst kinds of policies that put the rights of criminals before the rights of citizens. And that's the part of the story you won't hear about on mainstream media. Joining us now is Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon. Congressman, thank you for joining us. You know, they used to give it a day or so. They used to give it a beat, but they're coming after our guns, our rights, our Second Amendment constitutional rights within minutes of these deadly shootings. Your thoughts?
Oh, Eric, it's their knee-jerk reaction, and the left always tries to, sell the American people is guns are the problem. And as you just said, nothing could be further from the truth. Criminals are the problem. But if guns were truly the problem, then riddle me this, and I asked this in an oversight committee hearing last year. In 1980, there were roughly 295 million guns in the United States. Today, there are 400 million, so there are far more. And yet the murder rate back then was 10 per 100,000, and today it's half that at 5. So how could that be? I don't understand. I'd love Mr. Scarborough over there at MSNBC to try to explain that to the American people.
Yeah, he's not good at math over there, nor is his wife, Mika. They're good at hating on conservatives. And by the way, he said he used to be a conservative. I don't know how that happened. But, the Second Amendment, Congressman, isn't about hunting. It's about protecting against a totalitarian regime. And that seems to be what we have here, a government that's a totalitarian wannabe regime.
Shall not be infringed. The founders put that in there precisely because every other government on the planet at the time that they wrote the Constitution was authoritarian. And they wanted the citizens to be able to arm themselves and fight back. That's the number one reason, as you just mentioned, we have the Second Amendment. The second reason is I'd like to protect my family and myself and my property from criminals. And then, yeah, sure, I'd like to maybe use it for recreation and maybe go hunt as well. But that's the number one reason, and we can never lose sight of that.
Congressman, this tragedy didn't fit their narrative on the left in the mainstream media, which protects the left, the progressives, because it wasn't a disillusioned or mentally handicapped young white guy. It was an African American guy. It would have been a felon if he didn't plead down to a misdemeanor with a soft DA, and it was a handgun. It wasn't an AR-15 which they love to hate. Your thoughts on this not being their typical shooter that they would be all over the media if it were?
No, they'd be talking about white rage, white hate, the inequities. They always try and blame other people too, Eric, which drives me absolutely crazy. They'll say, policing is the problem, or they're going to put society on trial, or it's about the inequities, or the laws are at issue. No, it is the criminal. Number one, that's who's to blame here and no one else. Period. End of story, full stop. This wasn't a young white male that was, as you said, disillusioned. So even the crimes in California with the perpetrator was Asian. And so at the end of the day, if we didn't have a soft DA, this would have never happened.
Yeah, and that is so true. It was 2019 when this guy was caught with a felony gun charge, and the DA let him plead down to a misdemeanor. And the original charge carried up to a 5-year sentence. He'd be behind bars. He'd still be in jail, not out to go kill 3 students and injure 5 more. Congressman Pat Fallon, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Eric. God bless.